Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome once again to NoDQ&A Video, the official Q&A video series for NoDQ.com. I answer your questions about WWE and TNA at spring.me/Aaron Rift. So with that being said, let's get right down to it. First one today comes from VemMICX. What do you see WWE doing with CM Punk after Night of Champions? Well, I definitely see CM Punk getting back into the WWE title picture sooner than later. I think that the feud with Curtis Axel is only to finish up the CM Punk and Paul Heyman storyline. I could see that going another month or two. Maybe they'll finish it off at Hell in a Cell. Maybe Hell in a Cell will be the place where CM Punk finally gets his payback on Paul Heyman. But looking at Survivor Series and towards the end of the year, I definitely see CM Punk getting back in the title mix, either feuding with Daniel Bryan or feuding with Randy Orton, or both. I could very well see a triple threat match for the WWE title at some point, but that's what I'm expecting for the rest of the year until John Cena makes his return. Next question comes from My Jeans, okay? Hey Aaron, with CM Punk being built up big time with the Paul Heyman storyline and Daniel Bryan going for the title, any chance we'll see both of their build-up matches culminate in a Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk for the WWE title main event match at WrestleMania 30? Well, I think we'll likely see Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk sooner than that, but you know what? That might be a really good idea for WrestleMania 30, especially when you're going to have Undertaker likely put against Brock Lesnar and John Cena will most likely be in the big McMahon storyline match. That's what I'm thinking at this point. And you know what? It's a little bit early to be speculating about the WrestleMania 30 matches, but if that ends up being the case, Cena in the McMahon match, Undertaker and Lesnar, that leaves Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. And, that would be an incredible match for WrestleMania 30. Now, obviously, that's not going to be the match that sells the pay-per-view for the mainstream audience, but still, for the diehard wrestling fans, that would be a dream come true to see those two guys in the ring against each other at the biggest show of the year. So I really like that idea. And, if it was me, I would hold off on Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk until WrestleMania. But like I said in the previous question, with John Cena being gone, I think WWE is going to get CM Punk back in the world title mix, the WWE title mix, sooner rather than later. So, wouldn't surprise me to see those two against each other before WrestleMania. All right, this one comes from Juno Mars. Hey Aaron, do you personally find technical wrestling to be entertaining? Because I, for one, don't. Here's the thing, I don't mind it. I think that wrestling should have a little bit of everything. You should have good technical wrestling, good brawling, have good high flying, everything put together. It's all about the total package. To me, professional wrestling is entertainment. I watch it to be entertained, and I like it for the rock concert atmosphere with the pyro and the big stage and the fireworks and the entrance themes. I like everything, and I like the characters and I like the wrestling. I just like the whole package of it when everything is done well. So great technical wrestling is fine with me. If it was all technical wrestling, I would be bored with it. That's why it's hard for me to get into other promotions, like Japan or whatever, because it's more about the technical wrestling and less about the glitz and the glamour and, the sports entertainment that WWE is known for. But, that's what I like. That's what I grew up on. WWE, to me, does sports entertainment better than anyone, and that's why they're at the top. And at the end of the day, professional wrestling is two men in tights pretending to hate each other and pretending to fight each other. So, it's all about the presentation, and, WWE does it better than anyone. All right, this one comes from Jeroen Inc. Be honest here. If you didn't have NoDQ.com and all the internet buzz from and about your website, would you still follow wrestling as close as you did today? Would you be still watching wrestling to begin with? Well, yes, I grew up on wrestling, as I mentioned in the previous question. I grew up on WWE and WCW. So, if I didn't have the website, I would probably still be following it to some degree. I think I would still be watching Raw every week. Would I be watching TNA? Maybe. And that's a big maybe. But it is part of my job at times, and sometimes I feel like I have to watch it because it's a requirement, because I'm covering it for NoDQ.com. But there are times when I really enjoy it, and I can just enjoy watching it as a fan. It just depends. Sometimes it's more difficult. Sometimes it's easy to watch the show and just be able to have fun with it and not be such a critic at times. All right, this next one comes from B Hinder 1. With Victoria no longer being in TNA, do you see her possibly making a WWE return to take on AJ since she's putting down the whole Divas division? Perhaps some other classic Divas. I've talked about Victoria before. I think at her age, it's unlikely she will be coming back to WWE and being an on-camera performer again. I think if she does come back to WWE at some point, it would be in a behind-the-scenes role, maybe as a trainer or whatever for NXT. I could very well see her getting involved in that. But as far as coming back and being a regular performer on television, I mean, I could see her making a one-time appearance, maybe on a one of those Raw specials where it's the old school Raw. That I could see happening, but I don't see her coming back and being a regular again. All right, this one comes from Nick Lombardi 9. Hey Aaron, here's the thing. When John Cena comes back, I'm worried they'll come back as the savior of the WWE and, quote, help Daniel Bryan, and then everything will go back to normal. With Super Cena being John Cena being Super Cena again. I would love to see John Cena turn, but hey, how about you? Well, you definitely have a right to be concerned because in all likelihood, that's what's going to happen. John Cena is going to come back, and it's going to be the same old John Cena character again, and he will be the focal point of Wrestlemania. And that's what they're going to do because John Cena is the biggest mainstream name in WWE, and they're gonna use his name to market WrestleMania. So I mean, I'm fully expecting him to come back and, like I said, be involved in that McMahon storyline and face whoever the top heel is representing Triple H or the McMahons or whatever the storyline is going to be. I see John Cena being the top babyface going against whoever's trying to take over the company or whatever. And like I said, Daniel Bryan will probably be pushed aside a little bit, and he'll be in a key match. But WWE is not going to build WrestleMania around Daniel Bryan. It's just not going to happen. All right, this one comes from JPal6. Greetings from Australia. Do you think WWE should have Dolph Ziggler or another up-and-coming star run in and attempt to save the day during Daniel Bryan's beatdown to try and give them the rub from the crowd? Insert the 4 magic words here. That would be a good idea to have somebody stand up to the McMahons and help get them over. Because let's face it, all the guys backing down to Triple H, it makes all of them look weak. So if somebody decides to rebel and fight back, it would definitely help get that guy over with the crowd. So I'm all for WWE doing something like that, and I really feel they need to because just 2 years ago they did the whole storyline where the entire roster turned on Triple H and had no confidence in him, and now all of a sudden they're scared of him. So for that reason alone, I think they need to do something and have somebody stand up to Triple H, and not just somebody who's supposed to have an ironclad contract, but somebody who wants to make a name for himself and doesn't care if he gets fired or not. All right, last one today comes from Gregory CD1. Hey Aaron, please answer in video. Do you see an AJ feuding with Stephanie sometime in the near future? Cheers, Greg from Connecticut. You said cheers, but you're from Connecticut. I thought only people in the UK say cheers, but I don't know. Anyways, regarding your question, I could definitely see it happening. I mean, I kind of think it's inevitable for that to happen because Stephanie's going to be a recurring TV character, and AJ is the Divas champion, and she's arguably the top diva right now. So one would only think that at some point those two are going to cross paths. They're two interesting TV characters, and there's only time. I think at some point they're gonna run into each other, and there will be some sort of storyline with those two. So I think in all likelihood it will happen, and I think it's a good idea. I think that it's something you should do when you have two interesting characters like that. And I think they already did something on Raw several months back, if I'm not mistaken. I kind of remember Stephanie confronting AJ, but I could definitely see more of that in the future, no doubt. All right, that'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Subscribe, youtube.com/NoDQCAW. Tell a friend on Facebook or Twitter about No DQ&A video. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for all the very latest regarding Night of Champions. With that being said, I will see you guys next time.